Hello everyone, and welcome to the Pimax live event. Actually, it's not the now event or the Pimax Day event, it's the live event. My name is Martin, and I'm here with Kevin Henderson, the COO of Pimax back in Florida. Hey Kevin, how are you doing?
How you doing? We're back again.
Yeah, here we are again. It's been a while, of course. I know we should have done this long ago, but yeah, here we are at least. So
yeah, we've we hadn't done one of these in a bit, and we want to get this going, and we want to do it a little bit more often too. I think we've come to the conclusion that we need to open up the communication some more.
Right. I have to start with this, that we're airing this live on the Pimax YouTube channel. We're also mirroring this to my YouTube channel, SweViver. I've never done this before, so if something goes wrong, just jump into the Pimax YouTube channel instead and keep watching, because here it should work at least.
We're monitoring the chat, so hopefully you guys can hear us and everything visual.
Right, so Kevin, tell me, what is the Pimax Live? What is that all about?
Yeah, so we have three different kinds of events. We had the Pimax Now, and we had Pimax Day, and of course we originally were going to call this Pimax Day too, but really this is going to be more informational. It's going to talk about a lot of the things we've done lately, and it's going to talk about some future things, and we're going to talk about things like beta programs and all kinds of neat things people can get involved in. But Pimax Now would be revolving around things that we're shipping, where there's some big new product that we're shipping that everybody should get excited about, that we're excited about, you and I, you know how we are. And Pimax Day is a much bigger event, where we'll have all kinds of interesting things, and that our bigger things will be reserved for that. The Pimax Live, we're thinking about doing it every month, you and I.
Right.
And so yeah, but this time I think we've got some pretty neat things to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. Our viewers are currently looking at the table of content, and as you can see, there are some interesting and very exciting things to talk about tonight. Some of these things might not be news to you. Some of these things you may already know about, but still, we wanted to inform you about the updates and the current progress of Pimax in general.
Right. Yeah, and we've got a fair amount to talk about and reveal, and also kind of recap.
Right.
But yeah, and then as we move on down the road with some of these future shows, I think we've, as you and I both know, we've got some pretty amazing things to talk about. So, mind-blowing things to talk about. So,
absolutely, totally agree.
I think it's definitely worth people's while to check this out and see what's new.
Absolutely. Hey, Kevin, I think we're going to start off by talking about our flagship headset, the Pimax Vision 8KX, the native 4K per eye headset, which just a couple of days from now, or a couple of days back, it got a huge update. And that's a firmware update, which is very simple to do as a Pimax 8KX owner. And it adds the 90 Hertz refresh rate in the native mode, in the native 4K resolution mode per eye. And also it also adds a 60 hertz native mode, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But let's start about the 90 hertz native 4K mode.
Yeah, we our engineer has been working with NVIDIA for a long time to try to, this is something that we would have liked to have released on the first day we had the 8KX, but it took some time. But as we did with the Pimax 5K Plus, we continually increased the refresh rates, and we added, just all sorts of enhancements and improvements in the firmware updates. We're going to do that with the 8KX too. And of course, the 90 hertz is a big one, So a lot of people, their holy grail was to be able to run 4K per eye and 90 hertz and have a wide field of view. And we've been able to achieve all of that with this update. We've got, you get the full field of view at 90 hertz with the high resolution. Of course, it was a difficult thing to get the bandwidth. I think we're using like 99.9% of the bandwidth across the DisplayPort, so.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, this has been a progress for basically a year, ever since CES last year, I think. I mean, the engineers have been working really hard, and Robin and the whole company are super proud, including us, of course. We're super proud to be able to give this to every single 8KX owner just totally for free, of course, because we never promised this from start. We settled for 75 hertz back upon release because it was stable back then. But now it finally is working in 90 hertz. And as you said, it's not only working in 90 hertz, it's also working with a large field of view. With all
it doesn't
of the
change. Normally, it changes the field of view when you increase the refresh rate that way. And we've been able to do it where you get to keep the maximum field of view and have the high refresh rate and the high resolution.
Right.
So
now there is a little catch to this, and that is that currently, this is the current progress of the firmware, is that it only supports, at least officially only supports, the RTX 30 series graphic card, including the 3070, 3080 and 3090. So I have to add that it might work with other graphic cards. We had some occasional how do you say, examples where it did actually work on the RTX 20 series graphic cards as well.
Not only that, I saw a guy write a whole thing up on how he had a Radeon 6800.
Right, it was a 68 or 6900, right? Yes, exactly.
So I imagine that it can work to that degree on other video cards. It's just not guaranteed right now.
Absolutely,
it's only a beta.
Right.
But we're going to be improving it further. And we've got just so many ideas on things we can do.
Yeah.
And for the future, so. Just like the 5K Plus, we're gonna keep adding more modes. We're gonna keep improving PiTool. The whole experience will just keep evolving. You can just think about a year ago. You and I, a year ago, 2 years ago, what things were like.
Right.
What PiTool was like.
Yeah, definitely.
There was no brightness control. There was no backlight controls. There was only one refresh rate.
Yeah.
You only had one refresh rate.
Yeah.
We had field of view, if you recall. We didn't even have adjustable fields of view when we started.
Yeah.
So,
but we've been improving every single headset. I mean, just like the 5K Plus, like the 5K Super, we increase the refresh rates all the time, and all of the every time it's been for free because it's just been an upgrade, software-wise or firmware-wise. Now, also, I want to add that this 90 hertz mode also supports smart smoothing, which means that you can run your games in 45 frames per second instead of 90, if you cannot hold up 90 frames per second, of course. Exactly. So yeah, that runs smooth. We have tested it a lot, and it does work great, even better than with 75 hertz, well, half of 75 hertz like before.
Yep. And of course, other improvements that we've made to it, one of them is the new optical cable, which is a longer cable. Yeah. It's a much more flexible cable. It's better in literally every way.
Right.
It's thinner. It's longer. It's more reliable.
Here's the thing. It's both thinner. It's longer. It's 6 meters, roughly 20 feet. But it's also more flexible, which means it just feels better when you're using it. It's not, you don't feel it as much when you're turning around and such, because it's just more of like a it feels just better, I would say. And of course, I mean the good parts about the optical interface, which the display port is transferred through, right? Is that
Just
it's
one USB.
Right. It's one USB, and that's for the tracking data and for the of all the other tracking and the specific data, and power, of course. But the most importantly, it's less prone to damage, that cable, and it transfers a more reliable signal, which means that here's the thing: some graphic cards has lower signal on the display port, especially the second and the third one. And if you connect a regular cable, there might be issues. But if you connect the optical cable, those issues are a lot of times gone.
Yeah, its signal strength is much higher.
Right, right. Yeah, so the optical cable is available on our website in the store. It's available since a few months back already, actually.
Yep.
And it's really...
Eventually, that's what we'll include. Eventually, that'll be the default cable.
Right, right.
One thing we should mention is that the AKX is a new electrical platform, and so all of our headsets are migrating to that over time.
Yeah.
So, which means that the electrical platform, the AKX has, the 5K Super uses it.
Yes.
Even the Artisan is beginning to use it. All of our headsets do. And as we evolve the platforms, we'll migrate all the models into them.
Yeah.
So,
some of you may not even know what the 8KX is. And I'm just going to mention it fast because I'm showing the specifications currently on screen here. Yeah. And that is the Pimax only 4K native 4K per eye headset with a wide field of view of 200 degrees or 170 degrees horizontally. It powers two LCD panels which are full-size 4K, and they use RGB stripe matrix. So it's quite some heavy technology here, and now having 60, 75 and 90 Hertz available in the native mode, while also 114 Hertz is available in the upscaled mode. It's quite a nice package, I must say, and it just gives even more. I think a lot of people who was hesitating to buy the 8KX might now reconsider it, especially since the 90 Hertz is out.
And we probably should mention that during this stream and for the next hours, anybody who gets an 8KX will get a free KD mask.
Right, right.
And which is worth $120.
Yes. And
so you get the KD mask for free, and the KD mask is a vast improvement over the S mask.
Right.
I mean, everybody agrees that it's a million times nicer than.
Yes, absolutely. The KD mask is the strap you just saw on the video clip, right, what I showed. And you can read more about it on our website and in our store, of course. It's a vast improvement because it's on-air speakers with those air muffs, so it blocks out surrounding sound. It's way better audio quality in general, better speakers, and it's a great package, I think. Now,
go ahead.
Sorry, Kevin. I was just thinking about the 60 Hertz, which we haven't even talked about yet.
Now, watch the movie. That's the best movie mode and flight sim mode.
Right. Now, some people might ask, why 60 Hertz? Because it's quite a low refresh rate for VR, right? And some people might even see some flicker in very bright scenes, which even I can do at times. If I just brighten the backlight up to 100%, there might be some minor flicker. It all depends how sensitive you are, how sensitive your eyes are. But the beauty of 60 Hertz is, of course, first of all, is to be able to run the games in 60 Hertz smooth. Now, here's the thing, most of you know this already, but some of you might not, in that when running in 75 Hertz or 90 Hertz, if the game itself is rendering or running in, let's say, 72 frames per second, it's going to feel a little bit stuttery, of course. Now, if you lower down the refresh rate to 60 Hertz and lock the frame rate to 60 Hertz, it's going to feel much more smooth, which is kind of the main point of lowering the refresh rate. And this specifically is very nice to simulators like racing simulators, flight simulators, where you don't necessarily feel that lower refresh rate, but where the smoothness is more important.
Yeah, we should also mention that the different refresh rates affect the smart smoothing, it affects the threshold for the smart smoothing to kick
Right.
in.
Yes.
The threshold is half of whatever the refresh rate is set to.
Yes.
So if you have your refresh rate set to 60, it sets the threshold to 30 for the smart smoothing. If
Yes.
you so basically for something like Flight Sim
Yes.
2020, you really want to run it in 60 because you want to get that threshold for smart smoothing down to 30.
Absolutely. This is
So
exactly what
a
I'm
lot of
showing on screen right now. Some Microsoft
yeah,
Flight Simulator 2020, where I'm running this. Okay, I'm running this with a 3090 graphic card. But as you may know, if you have tried a Flight Simulator 2020, is that no matter what graphic card you have, it's basically impossible to go over more than 40 frames per second, as long as you want to keep a decent image quality. So running here in locked 30 frames per second and reprojecting the image with the asynchronous space warping, which the smart smoothing is,
right.
we can get the simulator to run perfectly smooth, even in scenarios like New York, Manhattan, Los Angeles, and places which are quite heavy for the GPU and specifically the CPU. So
Speaking of, yeah, we should mention that we also have a guide on the OpenMR that we created
right,
that gives you. We have a free guide that's on OpenMR where we tell you how to optimize Flight Sim on a Pimax, and we give you everything that you need to know to improve your frame rate. And we did a lot of experiments with every little setting, and we found that the settings that we recommend will give you about a 28% frame boost.
right, yeah.
Very little degradation in the visuals.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know you have spent quite a lot of time with that guide, and I think a lot of people appreciate it already now in the forums and on Reddit and other social medias. It's really needed. It's one of those few simulators, well, maybe including a digital combat simulator as well, where you really need to tweak your computer to get
Exactly.
a proper frame rate, even if you play this on the Oculus Rift or any other low resolution headset. It's the CPU bound, the, how do you say, single core performance which matters here. And today's CPUs are just too slow. I'm running a 5950X,
Yeah.
an $800 CPU, and still it struggles. So I have to settle for 30, 35, maybe 40 frames per second to run this simulator.
But one thing people should know is that it's a CPU bound game. So if you try to mix a low CPU with a high GPU, your results aren't going to be so great. So you in this case you do kind of have to have both. But one thing to know also is the Pimax experience actually does have some flight sim profiles for the Pimax side.
It does. It does.
We're
going to mention that in a moment.
And we'll talk about that too. But the guide that we wrote is about the in-game settings, and so these are the settings that you want to set inside Flight Sim to get the frame rate. So you kind of need to do both,
yeah,
to maximize it.
Right. And you also got to find a balance because you still want to keep the good visual quality, especially if you run this on an 8KX with the 4K resolution. You don't want to scale it down to pixelated mess. It's yeah. Now, another thing about the 8KX or our headsets in general are some of the improvements we've made recently, which are panel backlight is now changing instantly. So you don't have to restart the headset. You can just do it either in PiTool or you can do it in the Pimax VR experience as I show you here in the video flow. Now also we have the IPD offset and left and right screen offset fully working in both applications.
You change each eye individually now, instead of both eyes at the same time. You can actually, so if you have an offset eye where your eyes are not symmetrical, you can correct for that, which a lot of people, like 10% of people, have that.
Absolutely. And I think it's such an important thing, especially the backlight, because soon we will be able to also include backlight and the IPD offset and all the other left and right screen offset into the game profile. So this is going to be all customizable per game, which is quite awesome, and especially per profile if you have several users at home running the same headset.
And the profiles will have graphics where they can show you what the in-game settings are.
Right.
So you will have screenshots from the in-game settings, so you can at least see the screenshot of what it is. so that you can go ahead and set it yourself. So
Yeah.
when we get it finished all the way, it'll be where that will be kind of a one-stop spot to find out exactly what you need to do to get the highest frame rate with the best visual quality.
Right.
That's
right.
where we're going. You know, we're not quite there yet, but that's where we're going.
We're not there yet, but we've come quite long. I mean, quite far now. And this Division 8KX specifically it's more finished than ever, I would say.
Oh yeah, and not only that, you know, in a little bit later in this program, we're going to talk about IPD a little bit more, and you know, and some of the things that the teams are working on related to that. So we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Absolutely. So how about we move on to the next topic?
Yeah, the 5K Super. Let's talk about that a little bit.
The Pimax Vision 5K Super. Some of you may not heard about it. Some of you have, of course. This is our high refresh rate headset. It's not as high resolution as the Pimax 8KX because it's utilizing 1440p panels per eye, full size, of course, just like the Pimax 5K Plus. But it does support much higher refresh rates, such as 120 Hz, 160, and even 180 Hz, which is market leading. I mean, there's no other headset on the market that can offer that right now, currently at least.
I think we should mention the positioning of it a little bit, and that is, you know, it's not meant to, you know, it's not an 8KX. The 5K Super is essentially the successor to the 5K Plus, you know, and eventually, and so what's the differences, right? Real quick, I'll just rattle them off. You get the new housing, which is something worked on, the ruggedized housing. You get the new 8KX optical. You basically you get the new 8KX electrical platform.
Yes.
So it uses the you know, electronic from the 8KX. It still has the 2560 by 1440 panels, but they're improved and they have a higher refresh rate in their new panels. So basically, you get all of the features that you get in the 8KX except for the resolution.
Right.
And, but you get a very, very high refresh rate, which can have some advantages of its own. But it's got a price that's far less than an 8KX, of course. So you know, you'd save a lot of money, and it's still higher resolution than most of the other headsets out there. So
yeah, we've had some people who have just asked us, like, on a regular basis, like, why a 5K headset again, like 1440p resolution? But you know, the technology, I mean, the limits in the current technology is that there are no 4K headsets or 4K displays which can render 180 or 160 hertz. But there are people out there who really want or need those 160 or 180 hertz. There are people who are playing on the monitors with 300 hertz, or is it even 360 or something like that? Counter-Strike.
About that.
Yeah.
300 hertz.
Right, and I mean, I'm not one of them, I have to admit, because for me 75 hertz was fully enough even for any game.
11 Tennis, the table tennis game. That game benefited from the high refresh rate more than any other game I tried.
Absolutely. There is a big difference once you switch to a higher refresh rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beat Saber benefits too.
Beat Saber as well. Yeah, I remember when we were back in Florida when we did the Pimax shows. And I mean, there were people who could just instantly see the difference between 160 and 180 hertz even. They could see the difference between those high refresh rates, which is quite amazing. I mean, I'm not able to do that, but there are people out there, and that's who the headset is for. Maybe you don't need the highest refresh rate. Maybe you don't have a RTX 3080 or 3090, but you still want to run your VR games with a really nice image quality. I mean, it's basically
$500 cheaper than an 8KX, you know.
Exactly.
And not only that, it works with the KD mass.
Right.
It works with our optical cable.
Yeah.
It works with, you know, so you basically get all the things with it, and you get all the benefits like ruggedized housing and all the other things that are part of the 8KX in the Vision 5K Super.
Right.
So, and the other thing is, you know, we've been working together with Amazon and to make it a lot easier for people to buy. Of course, you can still buy from the Pimax store, but if you want to get it really quick, you know, Amazon is the fastest way.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we got a new shipment of 5K Supers into Amazon. So hopefully we can, you know, we can keep doing that and keep that stock in there. A lot of people were complaining that the stock would only last a day or two once we got it into Amazon, and we're trying to do better with that and get more units in there. So.
Yeah, so if you have a 5K Plus or any other headset where you're fully satisfied with the resolution and you want a better refresh rate, better housing, better audio strap and many other things, like all the improvements of the 5K Super, I think it's a great alternative, especially since it's so much cheaper than the 8KX, of course.
Yep. So let's talk a little bit about one of the elephants in the room.
Sure. Why
How
not?
about the DMAS? Let's talk about the DMAS a little bit.
Yes, the DMAS. Well, yeah, here's the thing. It's in progress right now, as it's been for quite a long time. We are currently working with a well-known audio company. We're not able to disclose the name of it, but it's a high-end audio company which are doing a codec for our speakers. Now, here's the thing, our speakers are already running with the current Windows drivers and codecs, but we wanted to improve that. We wanted to fine-tune that. We wanted to make it a better experience. So this is one of the reasons, it's been delayed.
We should probably mention that we actually completed the DMAS, and we produced some, and and it went out to testers. And one of the things we should mention is, audio is highly subjective,
Right.
And, some people love the index speakers. Some people, you say, I'm surprised. I love them. I think it's great.
Yeah.
But some people don't. They'll talk about how they don't. And it's just a big question mark for me, because I think it's some of the best audio out there.
Yeah.
The KD Mass is great. I haven't seen even one person, I don't think, complain about the KD Mass. The S Mass, yeah, you get people who definitely think that the S Mass is low-end audio.
Yeah.
But the DMAS, what I heard was the best audio I had heard, and I was surprised when I heard that one of our testers, didn't think so. So so it seems to me that so one of the things we want to do is we're going to create a program right after this show where we want to pick 10 people. So on the OpenMR forum, what we want to do is we want to enlist 10 people to be testers. It'd be the prerequisite would be that you need to be somebody who ordered a DMAS.
Preferably backers also. I think we're going to prioritize backers, of course.
Who has a DMAS coming.
Yeah.
But 10 people who would like to test. Now, of course, it needs to be people willing to provide detailed feedback. You need to be willing to give us some detailed descriptions of different types of audio and different games and different things, and we have it available where we can ship them very quickly. And if it's something that the average person, especially if it's universal, or everybody who gets one just says it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, then we can go ahead and ship more. We could go ahead and fulfill them. But our team was worried that there's the chance that maybe something that people don't like about it. So
right. I have to add that I do have an earlier sample of the DMAS since way back, since last year. And it's awesome. I'm just in love with it. I use it basically every time. Currently, it's the KD-Mass on this headset, but usually I use the DMAS because it is really good. And that's even without the codec, which we are working on right now, or the company's working on for us.
That was the other thing we wanted to talk about. When the testers will get to test it where you just test the hardware, but then we're going to send you, which is effectively a driver.
Yes.
It's an audio driver. And we're working with a fairly famous audio company on the driver.
Yeah.
And you can run it with or without that. You don't need it. But we want to know if you think it's required, if you think it's something that's important to have. Now, that said, if people do give it the seal of approval, the green stamp, we can start shipping them very, very quickly. We have a pretty good ability to move on that very fast. Yeah. But we want to do it once we feel comfortable with what we've developed.
Yeah,
so
we want to succeed with this
yeah,
mass.
we want it to be the best audio you've ever heard, and we want it to rise to flagship level audio, and we need to
Yeah.
make sure that it is in the
Sure.
average person's eyes.
Sure.
So that's where we're going. I would also add that people that get in with us with the beta programs, not just on this, we're going to talk about some other beta stuff in a minute here, um, but basically the bottom line is, if you turn out to be a good tester, hey, it could lead to testing other things. We've got some of the future things coming down the line, some of the best stuff on the planet.
Oh yeah.
And so we hope if you can be a good quality tester and give us some really strong feedback on what we can do to improve, and so on and so forth, you might be able to get your hands on some amazing things.
Yeah.
Over time.
I totally agree. That sounds great. It sounds really promising, and yeah, I'm waiting for the new latest, basically the final version of the DMAS, and yeah, me together with the other testers are gonna do some heavy testing, and hopefully we can.
But just real quick, maybe it's worth mentioning all the things that we have completed this year in a very difficult year, where most of China was shut down for 6 months. The entire supply chain was shut down for 7.5 months largely. And you had some even now, the reason that companies are not releasing new hardware products is for that. Even only a handful of companies are releasing phones, or they're reducing the number they're doing, and a lot of other things. In our case, I mean, think about it. We released the hand tracking, the eye tracking, the 8KX. We released the mass, the S mass, and the KD mass, and we did all the backer boxes.
That's quite a lot.
All the backers. We shipped. We've completed dozens of things this year.
Yeah.
Almost our entire baseline roadmap for PiTool, which included the backlight control, the intensity control, the refresh rates. We've been talking about. We finished 90 hertz on the 8KX. Think about it. We did all of this in a 1 year span. So we're moving on down the road when it comes to being able to release these things in a much more timely manner.
Right.
And we've also avoided, we're not going to be talking about a lot of things until we're pretty close. We're not, a lot of the things that in the past we would have been bringing up in a show like this. We want to get it a lot closer to to the time when it's going to ship.
Indeed. And our goal is to bring out everything we have promised. Of course, that's the main goal. The entire team of Pimax is working hard on that. That's for sure. So there's nothing that's going to be left behind, or nobody's going to be left behind. That's for sure.
And we're still updating. Heck, we even updated, put a firmware update out for the old Pimax 4K 2 months ago.
Right.
The thing's 4 years old, and more than 4 years old.
Yeah.
And 5 years old, and we're still putting firmware updates out for it and software out for it and things. So people with the 5K plus all the way to 144 hertz.
Sure.
And they got we backported all the things like the backlight controls and intensity controls and the individual IPD for per eye and all of that.
Right.
It goes all the way back. So I think we've come a long way, especially since you and I started.
Yeah, definitely.
Different company. It's a different world.
It's an awesome journey, and I hope it's, and I'm sure that it's actually going to get even more exciting very soon. Now,
it really is. We wish we could go down some of those paths.
We'll wait for that. All right, Kevin, let's move on to the next topic. I would like to talk a little bit about the hand tracking and the eye tracking modules, which are both available to purchase. And yes, there's been some issues with the eye tracking in the past. We had some firmware issues, we had some software issues. Now, as far as I can see at least, and from the input I get from people, it's getting more and more refined, it's getting better, and most of the people had it working now, and it is really coming into how do you say, into like what we were expecting it to be from start, specifically the 7 events eye tracking. Now they improved the camera refresh rate recently, so it does do 120 hertz, and they also
100%
together, right,
improvement in the refresh rate.
right.
So
And also together with the PiTool team, they're working hard on the DFR, or the dynamic foveated rendering, the accuracy of it and the speed of it and the latency, I mean as low latency as possible. That's constantly being worked on basically in every PiTool update and in every firmware of the eye tracking software or
all sorts of things. I mean, even things like detecting blinks.
Yeah.
Knowing when to, when it loses tracking from a blink.
Yeah.
Being able to adjust for that, and a lot of other technical things
Right.
that affect the white balance control for it detect in real time, where it detects, where your iris and where your pupil is. All of these things are part of these updates. So it's not just a higher refresh rate. It's more accurate. It can detect the color the delta between the colors. It can do a lot of things that it wasn't possible before with the blink detection and a lot of other things. So we think, but we know, but just for the record, we know that it's still more work to do on that, and a lot more work to do on that. We still have a lot of improvements we want to make to it. We're working with 7 and Vinsun to do that every day. And so if you do have the eye tracking, I would highly recommend that you download the latest version of the firmware and the latest version of the software that we have, and test it. And of course, we're going to continue to release newer versions of it.
Right.
And the same thing with the hand tracking. Recently, the Gemini was released for the hand tracking, which vastly improves the accuracy of the finger tracking, and it lets you have overlapping fingers where you can have hands like this, and it'll detect which side it's on.
Right.
Something it didn't do very well before.
Right. Yeah, it's a massive improvement. I mean, the hand tracking improvement is massive. I tested it just a couple of days ago. I did some recordings, as you can see here. It's really working. I won't say it's perfect, but it's way better than it was. And you can also put your hands further away from your headset, and it's still going to track well. Especially the frequency, or is it the refresh rate of the cameras is improved as well, as far as as far as I know, and you can really tell that
is very high when you use the hand tracking on a Pimax headset. You actually get the highest FOV on the hand tracking because you can still see your hands.
Yes.
When your hands are outside the FOV of the headset, if you've got a headset that's only 80 or 90 degrees,
sure,
your hands are way out, you can't see them anyway.
Yeah.
So the Pimax makes hand tracking vastly better. So if you have a project that you're working on, some OEM or VAR project, getting this new Gemini together with a Pimax headset and one of our modules, which are only are inexpensive. What are we selling for? Like $149?
It's something like that. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's inexpensive, and you get the full field of view, and you get a lot better distance on seeing where your hands are in the field.
Right.
It's so difficult to use your hands in like an 80-degree field of view where you got to keep your hands exactly in front of you.
Exactly.
And with us, you can get it way out here.
Yeah. It is 170 degrees field of view. I mean, that's what's advertised.
It's actually got a greater field of view. Actually, it's 200 degrees on the overlapping cameras on the hand tracking. It's wider than our headsets are horizontally.
Yeah, that's quite amazing. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
So, right. I mean, there's no real huge news about the hand tracking, maybe, or eye tracking, but the news is that it's working better than ever, which is...
We would just recommend that if you do have them, that you upgrade the software.
Definitely, especially the Gemini 5 update for the hand tracking, and also the latest firmware update for the eye tracking, and also the AC software, which is brought by 7 and Vinsun.
Very few people have updated their software for the hand tracking and the eye tracking.
Yeah.
And if you have them, we would highly encourage you to do so.
Right, right.
It's free,
definitely.
And it gives you some really nice benefits. So
yeah, definitely. Hey, Kevin. How about talking about the sword controllers?
There's another elephant in the room, isn't there?
Yeah.
The sword controllers. And
There's
the sword scent.
Yeah. But there is also a small elephant inside here in this room, actually, in my little.
Show
yeah.
you,
I'm gonna show. This is.
what's this?
It's kind of like a developer kit of the Pimax sword controller. Now I'm going to show you some footage in a second about this, but I've been using it for almost a week now. And I can tell you that even though it does not include all the features yet, it's still super promising. The comfort, first of all, is really, really better than I was expecting it to be. I mean, I cannot really complain about the comfort of the Valve Index controllers, but these Pimax sword controllers are really nice in my hand. At least in my hand, it just feels perfect. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Oculus controllers as well, which are a little bit smaller, just fits in your hand perfectly. It's just like there's no hesitation of how you hold it. You know, you don't have to adjust it much. It just, once you put it on your hand, it just sits there.
Well, the great thing is, these are models that fully operate, where you can pair them up, and and one thing that these have, they have the ruggedized housing that even a newer version of the ruggedized housing that we use in the headsets.
Now that's the housing. I just have to tell you that the housing does differ a little bit from the headset, not color-wise, but just material-wise, and it just feels so nice. It reminds me a little bit. Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of the HTC Vive 2.0. I mean, the housing, but it's still more cozy. I know it's hard to tell, hard to explain it.
You can replace the battery, which is big.
Right.
You can just change out battery. It uses a very common camera battery. And,
yes, it's the NPBX1.
Sony. Yeah.
It's a Sony battery from start, but you can of course buy third-party batteries really cheap, which are really good actually. I have a whole bunch of these batteries at home. I was recording this clip which you're looking at now, and I used some of my camera batteries which were third-party, and it feels like it lasts forever. You know, it's really, really nice, and especially the thing that you can easily charge these batteries. Let's say, of course, you can charge them in the controller itself, but you can also charge the batteries separate in a charger. On Amazon, for instance, you can get like 3 or 4 of these batteries, including a charger for all 3 or 4 batteries for like $25, which means you can also always have 4 batteries available to just plug in, and it takes like, 5 seconds to switch the battery. It's super easy, as you see here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's unique. Yeah. It's a unique feature. I mean, I guess Pimax is the only company that does this right now,
as far as I know.
And the hatch for the battery is actually magnetic, so it doesn't.
The Quest 2 uses a AA.
They do, yes, but
yeah. Of course, it just dies, and you have to replace it outright. But it lasts a long time. Exactly. That's really nice thing about the Quest 2, right? Is how long the batteries last on those things. But I'll tell you, these batteries last forever.
Right.
And so you get great battery life. You get the ability to change it instantly.
Yeah.
And this, of course, when people ask us what's the purpose, and this does allow us to have bundles with our own controller.
Right.
And people should kind of think about it a bit, and the more competition, the better. You don't want the Valve Index controller to be the only controller out there in the world that you can use for Steam VR. Right. There does need to be some competition in that field, I think.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
So this will allow us to to compete with that, and create some bundles with our different headset combinations, and so that means that you'll get. Be able to get the headset, the controllers, the strap, the audio, which will be the KD mass or the D mass. You'll be able to have the full package,
right?
And have a little bit of price control over it.
Right. The controller you see right now, as I'm showing here, is the Pimax sword controller. Now, you may have noted that this developer kit sample does not have the hand strap around your hand just like the Valve Index, but it will do. It will include that, of course. Now, they are actually, the Pimax team is actually currently shipping that to me because they had to adjust a little bit of the hinges of that thing, so they couldn't ship it together, but it is going to include the strap, and and yes, there will also be other models of the Pimax Sword controllers, because some people might not really like the touchpads. I do. I prefer touchpads many times instead of thumbsticks, specifically because they last longer, I think. I mean, I've had so many issues with the Valve Index controllers. I have 4 pairs, so it's 8 controllers actually of the Valve Index, and 4 of them are broken. Now the thumbstick is broken. No, I'm not going to throw any trash on the Valve Index here, but still, it's I think that there are many things that are really good about touchpads. Specifically, you want to scroll, if you want to use certain applications, it does make a difference using a touchpad instead of a thumbstick. So.
But that doesn't mean we won't have one in the future that does have that. It's just...
Yeah, exactly. Now the current progress is, I'm going to bring up the graphics in a moment. The current progress is that the Pimax team is working on implementing the capacitive sensors for the finger tracking.
Yeah, let's talk about CapSense a little bit.
CapSense, right.
Yeah, so what he has there is a kind of a hybrid for testing. Yes. So so for testing, we have the CapSense, which is something people probably don't know. We have the CapSense in the Sword, but the Sword Sense will also have CapSense, of course. But whether or not the CapSense winds up in the regular Sword is something we'll have to think about, right? But the Sword Sense will have it, in the future. But
right.
But yeah, we're going to be experimenting with the different configurations of the hardware, and the hardware platform, and but this will be the first one we release. The one that he has right now, the one we're showing, is from the full tools, and it's the family tool, the production tool for the hardware. So. Yeah. So yeah, this is something that we've moved along a great deal on, and it's something that we'll be able to, that we're going to try to get out there pretty quick. We'll probably in the near future be able to throw out some dates.
Indeed, yeah.
But not at this show. But maybe at the next show we can start talking about some dates.
Yeah, the shows are going to come more regularly from now on also, so there's going to be more things happening and announced and such. So so yeah, I recommend all of you just stay tuned, because there's going to be a lot about it, especially the Sword controllers as well. Now, as you can see in the footage, it uses a USB-C input, which is great. It's charging the batteries way faster than the USB or micro USB, which many other controllers are still using yet today. And yeah, I mean, so far what I've seen and so far what I've tried of the Pimax Sword controller, I'm super excited about the final product. It's although I have not been able to test the capacitive sensors yet, but the tracking itself is just perfect. There was no problems whatsoever with the tracking. The comfort is just awesome, I would say. The comfort is one of the best, or maybe the best, for my hands at least. I mean, I know it's all individual, but it's really, really comfortable. The materials as well, and the buttons, because I mean, some of you might think like, well, it might be cheap buttons and stuff. They are not really. They're really, really nice buttons. Pimax has learned their lessons, or we have learned the lesson. And
it's neat to have production versions of the, production samples in our hands. It's it's something that that's kind of an indicator of how long it's going to take from this point on.
Yeah, and comparing it to the Valve Index, for instance, I mean, from first glance it looks bigger, but it feels smaller. I mean, the whole controller itself is smaller, of course, but the thing is that bow or the arc, right, with the sensors, it never feels like it's in my way or anything. It's just it's like it's not there at all, and I don't really see the problem of it going around the whole controller like that. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of that, and I was actually not expecting that, because we've been waiting quite long for these, and I'm a backer myself. I was backer number 2. Maybe you remember that. I ordered.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah, I pledged the whole kit and then another headset as well separately, but I've been waiting for these and almost gave up on it. But now when I
So
see it,
they're gonna count this one as one of yours.
I hope not. I hope
No.
no, seriously, it works. But I need yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Pimax sword. Yes, it's in progress, and also we might have mentioned it already, or did we? That we are going to send upcoming test samples.
Ah, yes. Let's do that. So we're gonna create a program,
Right.
similar to the DMAS that we can start doing right away.
Yeah.
Very 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 quickly. In the coming days, we're gonna pick 10 people. Who and probably ones that have already ordered them that that they'll be able to still get their their units later. Right. These are just prototypes.
Yes, yes.
But we want to find out from a wider audience what people think of these and how well they like them, and if there's any glaring things they don't like about them. But we're going to create a program where we pick 10 people, and we'll go ahead and get their controllers to them, just like we're doing with the DMAS. Get the DMASs to them. Again, same thing. You need to have some experience. You have to have a Pimax. You have to have, it'd be nice if you have controllers coming.
Well, they do work with other brands as well. Of course, they do work with SweViver, Valve Index and stuff. But yeah.
And we do have some different variants of it that we can produce. So you would be testing more than one version of it.
Right.
But the bottom line is we want to go ahead and start shipping these to people to test.
Yeah.
And so people that want to do that, definitely contact us on OpenMR. Same thing with the DMAS. You could contact me on which is Pimax USA on OpenMR, or you can contact Martin and make the request, and then we'll pass it along to the engineering team and get you signed up. I imagine probably more than 10 people want to do this, but
oh yeah,
last time we opened something like this up, we had a huge number, but yeah, it's the same thing. Once you get into testing these things, it's a good thing. It opens up future cool things on the table for testing. Once you get in the mix. So I think we're a small company. The testing is not a paid position or anything.
No.
But we're just looking for enthusiasm and to do the testing and provide some nice reports. And just know that when you provide us a high quality report, it benefits everybody.
If you're happy, then we are happy, of course.
Yeah, and you get to have kind of a hand in improvements that benefit everyone. So.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of an altruistic thing to be a tester, but it can be a really good thing, for everyone to give us some good quality feedback. And we do have people already that give that, of course, but we need to expand our horizons when it comes to that. So some people will get the DMAS, and some people will get their sword controllers, but it'll be a limited amount, and it'll be for a test.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, Kevin, let's jump to the next topic. I think we're done with the controllers for now, at least for the day.
By the way, I'll mention that I am watching the live chat. I can see your questions in there. I suggest that you save your questions, people that are watching, to the end. We're gonna open up. We will open up for some questions, some Q&A. We've got a couple more sections left to go through, but after that. We'll open it up and I'll read your questions, and then either Martin or I will we'll make a stab at answering, whatever you got. So just kind of think about what your question is going to be, and then hit us with it at the end.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Pimax experience a little bit.
Yes, the Pimax VR experience. For those of you that has been following the whole development, we have come quite far now. Now, I gotta admit, first of all, the last couple of months, Armin Norozi, or Art Armin, which his company is called, he's been the one who's been working basically 80-90% of all the progress that has been made lately. I've been busy with other stuff, and so he's.
We might throw out there, Martin's a father now.
I am. I actually forgot to add a photo of Christopher, my son.
A new dad.
Yeah, yeah, it's
So
awesome. It's almost
people
eight
have
weeks
said,
now.
"Oh, he disappeared, and we don't see him as much, and his presence isn't there as much." Well, there's
Yeah,
a reason for that.
yeah.
Uh, being a
I'm
new dad is a quite a thing.
I've been recovering. I am recovering right now. Actually, it's in the eighth, no, seventh week, almost 8 weeks old. Christopher is
Yeah.
his name, and now it's getting better now because it was really an exhausting time. So yeah, I've been off for a while, but Armin, on the other hand, has been working a
He's been
lot,
doing the
especially
heavy
on the
lifting,
server.
I think.
Yeah, especially on the server side of the
Yeah.
Pimax Viewer experience, which hosts the cloud profile feature. Now it's in the phase one. It has started already, actually a few weeks back. We have a whole bunch of contributors, which I'm really thankful for, that you're helping out creating those profiles for the games. And yeah, and soon we're also going to move on to the phase two, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But first of all, if you haven't heard about the cloud profile thing, it's the whole thing about the cloud profile thing is that the Pimax VR experience can automatically adjust and set the optimized settings for your favorite games without you even clicking on a button. You basically start off the games and it's going to change the PiTool settings, it's going to change the Steam VR super sampling and other tweaks. It will soon also change in-game settings, or if that's possible for games. Some games are, especially like
Command line,
Half-Life.
like
Yeah, command lines. Yeah, even a config file if that's possible. I mean, in games like Half-Life Alyx, you can use command lines and other tweaks. Now, all of that will be hosted on a server, which Armin is currently hosting and is working really hard on this. And as you can see in the video flow here, we already have this running with a limited amount of games. Currently, only about 50, 60 games or something, just to be able to see how it works, how stable it is. And it's only a phase one right now. That means that everything is automated or automatic. You either use the cloud profile mode or you don't.
right.
Now, if you don't, then you're going to use your offline or local profiles which you have made in the past. If you turn on the cloud profile, then you will be able to automatically just start your games without doing any tweaks. But currently, you cannot change these profiles, which you will do in phase two.
We probably should throw out there that if anybody, there are a lot of experts out there on tweaking PiTool settings,
Yeah,
and tweaking
absolutely.
Pimax settings. We would encourage you to contact me or Armin or Martin about if you want to sign up to create profiles. We're adding people to make the online profiles. And remember, it's the same thing. You make a nice one, it benefits everybody, So
Yeah.
if there's a game, especially if there's a game that's not, or a group of games that's not supported that you know about, where you're real good at optimizing it, and all the little secrets, we're very interested in adding a wider variety than the 50 games or 60 games we have on there now.
Oh,
we
yeah.
want to hundreds of games on
We can
there.
make it thousands of games, of course.
Thousands of games.
And especially since the cloud profiles are currently already, every profile has 3 different modes. So you have a default mode, you have a more optimized speed mode, and you also have like a quality mode, which whichever you choose, you get better performance, or you get better image quality, or you get the balanced default mode. Now, this is currently all being made in the background, in the in the cloud, on the server. I'm going to show you the graphical slide here again. In phase 2, which Armin is working hard on right now, among other things like graphical improvements. He's redoing the whole UI right now. It's amazing. The phase 2 will also enable so you can change those profiles. First of all, tweak them. You can upload your own profiles or contribute with your own profiles to the cloud by simply clicking a button right in VR. So you don't have to log into a website or anything like that. You just do that instantly in VR. So when you find some good settings, you just upload it. Of course, there's going to be a way. So we have to, how do you say, put an OK on every profile, so it's not like.
Yeah, because you can't have 50 profiles for one combination of hardware and
right.
software. So you've got to have a way to bubble those.
Yes.
But
absolutely, and also a voting system, which is also in the works, which will allow you to vote on the best profiles. Let's say the Half-Life Alyx will have like 10 different profiles. You can basically vote for your favorite, and then the next user automatically can see in the UI in VR is going to be able to see what profile is the best one to use, or which is the one that people mostly prefer. So that's some of the things, and I would like to personally thank Armin once again for doing all the great work. He's amazing, and have in mind he's doing this for free right now. Pimax, he's not employed by Pimax as I am, and if you want to support him, please do so on his Patreon, patreon.com/artarmin. He really deserves that. Now,
we're working on the IPD adjustment tool too, so that's another thing.
Yes, exactly. I was about to say that we're working on the IPD adjustment. It's kind of like a wizard. So it's gonna give you a few images, and you're gonna tweak. We are gonna try to also have some voiceovers. Of course, it's gonna be Kevin's voice because.
So I can scare everyone.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to Pimax VR experience. I can already hear that when Kevin says that. But yeah, it's something we are aiming for now during April. It might be even early in April. We'll see. We're still tweaking some stuff with that.
Phase 2 cloud profiles. Try to get to the IPD adjustment all in April.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of things happening in April and onwards with the cloud system, and also there will be other features as well in the Pimax VR experience. This is not it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we can
list.
we have a huge list, and we will do not regular. How do you say? Like maybe bi-weekly or something live streams.
It does check for updates now. I mean, that's one of the features you recently added. Was checking for updates so that it'll tell you when there's a new version of the Pimax experience, rather than just having to check OpenMR every 5 seconds to see if something new is out there for you.
Yeah, and it also, if you click on it, you can update it, download it, install it, and restart Pimax VR experience automatically for you. So you don't even have to leave VR just to get the latest version. Of course, the cloud profiles are not dependent on a new profile, because as soon as you start the Pimax VR experience, whichever version you have, as long as it's one of the latest ones, it's automatically connects to this cloud, checks for new profiles. If they have been updated, it downloads the profiles for you for those games you have on your computer, of course, not all of the games.
But for those of you out there that don't know what this is, maybe we should real quick just kind of throw out, just, if you're running a Pimax headset right now, and you have PiTool installed, and by the way, the most recent version of PiTool is version 270.
Yes.
So if you're not using the Pimax experience together with PiTool, now they have to operate together. You have to have both. You can't just have one. You can't install the Pimax experience by itself. You have to have PiTool. They work as a pair.
Right.
But we highly encourage you to install that, because it does a lot of things automatically. It does a lot of settings, adjustments for Steam VR's configuration files. It does a ton of stuff, and it makes your experience far better.
Yeah, you can launch any game directly from VR. I mean, optimized as you wish. You can customize every game. You can create favorites. You can do your own profiles. You even have a virtual desktop now, where you can use up to 3 monitors at the same time, rearrange them, and just do your work in VR. Like in a free application, basically. It's not like the virtual desktop, which costs like, what is it, 10 or 20 bucks. It's just free.
You get it for nothing. Yeah. But yeah, there's so much there, and there's so many features there. It's very rich. You can adjust your colors, you can adjust your backlight, you can do everything from inside VR, versus before we have to take the headset off and you make your adjustments and then you put it back on and go into some test it. You don't have to do any of that anymore. Yeah. So my suggestion is, if you download the latest version of PiTool, which is version 270. The version 270 is the very first version that has a download button for the Pimax experience inside it.
Right, yes.
You can just And we're going to talk a little bit more about PiTool 270 in a minute.
Yes.
But just the big thing about it is that is the first version to have it where you can just quickly and easily install Pimax Experience with just a click. And you don't have to go find it, on the OpenMR somewhere or anything. You just click a button and it puts it on there for you. So
yeah, actually, I totally forgot.
If not done that, we highly recommend that you try it out. It's great.
Absolutely, absolutely. You find that under settings and the general under the tab. I totally forgot to make a short clip about that. That was supposed to be in the
do that later. We'll add a little blurb.
Yeah, also talking about videos, there will be many different videos coming up on the Pimax YouTube channel, also some of on the SweViver channel as well, especially tutorials and step-by-step guides. We are starting to work on that hard now because we feel that people need that. There are cases where it's just much easier and much more time efficient to just show a short video on how to maybe set up your base station, how to pair your controllers, how to change your IPD and all that stuff. So there's going to be a lot of these content coming on both the YouTube channel of Pimax, the website of Pimax, in the forums, on Reddit, and all these places, and also including the SweViver YouTube channel, which you are you watching now?
Another thing to talk about would be future collaborations on PiTool, on Pimax Experience.
Yes, yes.
For the month of April, we want to look into expanding the team, and if there's anyone out there who is a programmer, especially a Unity programmer, who wants to contribute to the Pimax Experience and maybe kind of mold it to some of some of the ideas that you might have that you can work together with our team on. Anybody out there that would like to ask, I suggest they reach out to Martin or Armin,
yes.
And mention that your interest in it, and then they'll share the project with you. They're going to be the decision makers on who. We want a smooth team, a team that works well together, and we want a team that can get a lot of things done.
Sure.
It'll be up to them who is added. But if you're out there and you know Unity and you want to add to the Pimax Experience, we definitely would like to add more star power to the to the team, and more ideas are always a great thing, and the more the merrier when it comes to this stuff. So
absolutely,
we definitely want to bring in some help into the Pimax Experience. So if you're interested in that, please let one of us know, and then we'll look into getting you in there.
Sure.
It's something. If it's something that you're excited about, the same thing. And of course, we would also add, if you have a project that you think would benefit from some of the features in the Pimax Experience.
Yes.
Meaning, so if you have a project that needs a launcher, or a project that needs auto configuration, if you have a project that can benefit from there's a ton of features in the Pimax Experience, from virtual desktop all the way down through adjusting colors and a million other things.
Especially since Pimax has a large wide field of view, and it has some specific, we have accessories like hand tracking and eye tracking. We can customize all that.
Yeah, the Pimax Experience, when you have the hand tracking going, you see your hands and you can control the Pimax Experience with your hands, and it has everything from scrolling to button presses to the whole boat.
Yeah, we're already testing as of now. We're already testing the eye tracking inside of Pimax VR Experience to just maneuver or take control over the UI with your eyes only, which is quite a cool feature. And this could be used in customized solutions for enterprise or other companies who have their specific solutions, and like opticians, for instance. And so
a lot of requests for that kind of thing as a company. People that need the wide field of view and high resolution and a lot of other features that we have. But until now, we didn't have like a tool chest, kind of a war chest of things that might kind of quickly launch projects like that. So if you have a project that could benefit from a Pimax headset, some of the features that we have, and you need to get it, rapidly launched, and you want to do some rapid beta testing, this kind of stuff could really accelerate your timeline. So
Indeed.
if you have any ideas like that or any projects like that, let us know. And Martin and Armin can definitely help you with that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, ending up with the Pimax VR experience, we are also going to have live streams, as I mentioned before, hosted by me, Armin, and you, Kevin, of course.
Yep.
Where we're going to talk new ideas, current progress. I mean, potentially new developers we can maybe come in contact with.
Maybe show some beta versions of it that we're working on. Maybe even get some feedback from some people on a live stream.
Right.
Maybe, where they talk about what would be better and directions we can go with it and some of their own ideas.
Sure.
We'd love to hear it. We'd love that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And the first live stream will be in the first days of April. So it's a few days from now. It's basically the next week, I guess.
We'll do it probably next week sometime.
Yeah, exactly. And Armin, remember, Armin is a super important part of this because he's made so many things, and he has some really cool. The graphical, the design of the user interface is totally changing right now. You haven't seen this yet because it's not out in the public beta, but I've seen what Armin is up to right now, and it's amazing. We're going to see some huge changes in the Pimax VR experience to the better, of course. I mean, it's not only it's going to look more pretty, but it's also going to be easier to navigate, and it's basically like going from Web 1.0 to 2.0 or something like that. You see, it's the next step. So yeah.
It is. And we want to use the Pimax experience as a tool to take Pimax headsets, not just the ones we have now, but future headsets, future products, and integrate them like the eye tracking. We want to add eye tracking capabilities into the Pimax experience at some point.
Sure.
We've already got hand tracking in there. We've got things like the backlight control in there, and it's just we're just going to be using that as kind of a springboard to take us into a place where you can just launch a game. It's completely configured. You don't have to do anything. That's the ultimate goal is to have it where you get the most optimized experience possible just with a single click. And we've already come a long way when it comes to that. And it does the Steam optimizations for you. It does the cloud profiles for you. It already supports like 60 games.
Yeah.
But we got a lot more we want to do with it.
Yeah, the progress, I mean, there's a lot of work put into the main core right now, into the server and stuff. So we could have added 500 games by now, but most importantly, it has to work. It has to be stable, and it has to be reliable. We don't want to destroy the experience for people, of course. If you don't want to get a lower resolution for no reason, or a too high resolution so your PC cannot handle it. It's tricky. It takes time, and it's going to be based also, I forgot to mention that the profiles are right now already based off your graphic card, RTX 3090, 3080, 2080, 2070, but there's also going to be parameters like CPU, RAM memory, and other stuff. And of course the headsets is also, I mean, the profiles are also based on the headset, because I mean there's a clear difference between render resolution of the 8KX and the 5K Plus, for instance.
By the way, so one thing people have asked that we probably should answer real quick is if you run the Pimax experience and you don't see any profiles for a game, that could be two different reasons. Number one, it might just be that we don't support that game yet with a cloud profile, so that it doesn't let you click on the cloud profile button if there's no profile for it.
Right.
But another thing to know is that it might not be there because you don't have the graphics card that the profile is looking for.
Yes.
So the Pimax experience grabs what kind of card you have, and then it tries to find the profile for that. Yeah. Well, if there's no profile for that, then it basically just doesn't exist. Right now, we don't have it where you can select a profile for a different video card just yet.
Yeah.
One of these days we will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, exciting times ahead, and big thanks to Armin again. Please support him if you can on his Patreon. And Kevin, what's your next topic?
We talked about PiTool a little bit a minute ago, that the version was we want to talk about PiTool just for a second.
Right, right. That's a good idea.
Version Of course, recently they added the 90 hertz, they added the 60 hertz, and a whole slew of other things
Yeah,
recently.
let me go into detail a little bit quickly
Yeah.
here. First of all, yes, it introduced the firmwares for the 90 and 60 hertz, which we mentioned before, but also there's some more release notes, and one of them is ability to turn off and on the headset's front chevron light, which is, it might sound like a simple thing, but it's very practical for many people who don't want to have that light on their headset. There is some USB power supply mode. There's a new mode which corrects or fixes the bad compatibility with some USB ports some headsets may have. We've seen some rare cases.
Use all new libraries for that now.
Right. Also, if you already have the 5K Super, there was a minor issue where the 90 Hz mode was not available together with large field of view, which it is now, because it was supposed to be there, but it was probably just a bug inside of PiTool. Yeah. And then the Pimax Viewer Experience was added. And yes, you can, if you don't want to, you can use the old empty Pimax Galaxy inside of your headset. If you don't want to use Pimax Viewer Experience, if you just want something simple to choose, which is running in your headset. Although, I mean, if you look at the CPU, RAM, memory, and graphic card,
it has a higher system requirement than Pimax Experience does.
Yeah, I mean, Armin, I've been optimizing it a lot, but Armin has made an amazing job optimizing Pimax Viewer Experience. So it's not really taking much of resources, even if you have it in the background.
You don't gain anything by just using the Galaxy thing. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
You know.
True.
You're generally just better off installing PE if you know. It only takes minutes and it's free, so there's no reason to.
Sure. So you should make sure, all of you, make sure to update to the latest PiTool version. Enable Pimax Viewer Experience in your PiTool so it downloads and installs automatically, and we can assure you you're gonna get a much better experience from now on with your Pimax, and it's only gonna get better from now on.
Indeed. So. I guess what we'll do now is let's answer some questions.
Now we have one more thing, Kevin, which is quite an important thing also. The RTX bundles. Yeah. Tell me about it, Kevin.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. So we do have a limited quantity of them. I don't know how many we ultimately got, but I know we have some stock on some NVIDIA 3090s. We got some 3090s, and we got some 3070s, and we got some, and we created some bundles.
Yeah.
And they're not jacked up. You know, they're not eBay price stuff. They're regular. They're pretty much a regular price stuff. It's from Colorful.
Yes. Actually, Colorful. If you haven't seen this video, Jay's 2 cents. Most of you probably know who that is. It's a huge YouTuber on YouTube. He made a review of the Colorful graphic card, the RTX 3080, I think it was, which is 3080, 3090, and he was super impressed by it, especially the overclocking capability. So that graphic card brand, even though Colorful may not sound as good as Asus, it's quite a nice brand. It really. I mean, the whole thing is in metal. It's no plastic parts like MSI can bring in many of these cards. So yeah, it's a great package and a full bundle with the Pimax 8KX and the graphic card. And the most importantly, it's in stock right now. Hopefully still it's in stock because it's already available on the website right now, so hurry up.
Because I will just say this, if you're going to do it with the bundle, do it quick. Because as you know, RTX cards last about 5 seconds on Amazon. I think it's less than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
The average shipment of RTX cards on Amazon is 30 seconds.
Yeah, and also, for instance, here in Sweden right now, if you want to buy a 3090, you have to pay almost $3,000. It's like $1,000 more than it was originally when the cards were released in a very small quantity.
So we don't have any 3080s. We've only got 70s and 90s.
Yes, exactly. So it's 3070s and 3090s, and hurry up, they might be even gone right now. We don't know. Yeah. We're trying to prevent bots to make any purchases here, and so that's why we haven't announced it or anything. Yeah.
We don't have any special mechanisms to fool with trying to detect some nutty
Yeah,
box or
right,
whatever.
right.
But we did obtain some 3090s and some 3070s, a shipment
Yeah.
of them, and put together a bundle, and we do have them in stock, and they're from Colorful. And do you have a slide for the price?
This slide is yeah, it's, let me bring it back here. It's 2184 for the full bundle with an RTX 3070. So
Now,
$2,184.
right, and then the 90 is how much?
$3,204. That does not include shipping and handling though, but
Right.
that's the full price for the bundle with the graphic card and the Pimax 8KX headset.
Yep.
Now, sorry.
One thing people should know is that these will get you 90 hertz. You know,
Yeah.
our new firmware will take advantage of these cards, and you'll get to have native mode. The reason we're bundling these with AKXs, of course, is that you get native mode, full maximum FOV, 90 hertz native mode.
Yeah, yeah.
Just sort of the holy grail.
And me myself, I have a RTX 3090, and as you can see here, this is my gameplays I've been recording. I just recorded a couple of these. I've tested maybe like 60 games recently with my card and the Pimax 8KX, of course, with the native resolution. And I'm super surprised that it actually runs super smooth. I mean, most of the games really run in 90 frames per second on the 8KX. It was already running smooth on the 75 hertz.
But you know, the Pimax experience plays a big part of that. When you download these optimized cloud profiles,
yeah,
you can. So the whole system's all combined.
Sure.
To give you that experience.
Yeah.
So, you know, with a 3070 or a 3090, you'll get 90 hertz in a ton of stuff, especially with the Pimax experience if you use the cloud profile.
Yeah, the only exceptions would be like the simulators, like Flight Simulator 2020 or
you know, that one is you're going to get. So just an FYI, with Flight Sim 2020 on an AKX, in most cases you won't get much more than say 40 frames a second.
Yeah, but that's the same case even with an Oculus Rift or an HTC Vive Pro.
We were playing around with that.
Same thing.
We were on a Vive and we were getting like 43.
Yeah.
Or 44. It was almost exactly the same.
Sure. I mean, people are tweaking their Oculus Quest even to run in 30 frames per second. Some of them are running in 20 frames per second, are quite happy with that. You know, that's where the bar is set right now.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's the hardest. I think that's probably easily the hardest VR title to run.
Yeah.
Is Flight Sim 2020.
But it's also one of the most beautiful looking. It's an amazing flight simulator. It's
mind blowing on an AKX when you get it all dialed in.
Yeah,
you know, it really is.
Absolutely.
So we got these bundles, man. So they've probably already gone.
Yeah, I haven't checked the website because we're streaming this. I have too many windows.
We don't have any way of telling.
No, but if there is, I mean, hurry up. They might be gone any second. Yeah. It's really difficult to find a graphic card. I'm so happy that I purchased a graphic card back in the days. And that was a pallet, actually. A pallet.
And you get the AKX, to reiterate, you get the AKX, you know, in the next hours. You're going to get a free KD mask with it, which is 1,000,000 times better than an S mask.
Sure. Yeah.
$120.
Absolutely.
Safe. Yeah.
All right, now, Kevin. Q&A.
Let's open this up. So, anybody who's watching, if you have a question, now's the time. So,
now
go
is the
in
time.
Chat, and we will make a stab at it.
Yeah.
I only have one of the chats open now that I think about it.
I have both of them actually.
Open both of them? Okay. So if you see, I'm only seeing the one, just one of them.
Someone says, LoneTech, the website picture that mentions the bundle is linked to this video. No clue where to get it. Well, just enter the Pimax website. It should be in the front if you just scroll down a little bit. As far as I know, our web designers has made sure that this bundle offer is available. If it's still available, maybe it's gone. Maybe they have put it down, but it was a limited amount of graphic cards. But hopefully there's still some left.
So we have a guy here who is asking about wireless. So I guess we can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been working on that is something that we've been working on for a long time.
Yeah, indeed.
I have a partner company.
Yeah.
That our engineers are working together similarly in a kind of a similar spirit to what the hand tracking and eye tracking was, although this requires some engineering a lot more engineering on the hardware side, on the headset side. So what's the status of it? So it's in the prototyping, internally. It's a hard thing because it's funny, we keep moving the bar on ourselves. We just released 90 hertz native resolution for the AKX, which increased the bandwidth requirement rather significantly. We keep moving the bar on what our technical requirements to do wireless are.
Right.
But that said, you can expect that this is something that we'll talk more about, and we probably will show some prototypes at some point, later this year, maybe sometime this summer. I don't know, but we'll have some samples to show and demo.
Right.
And we're looking at modules that you can plug into existing headsets, and of course, some future things. I imagine every VR company out there, including us, are working on future things. So there's no secret that that VR hardware companies are working on future things. But
hey,
you
Kevin,
can assume that we are.
Yeah, Kevin. Let me go through a couple of questions I see here.
Sure.
Trevor Jones, hi Trevor, nice to see you again. Pimax, will the Pimax Sword Sense have the analog grip button? I'm not sure about it yet because the Sword Sense is still in the works. It's
right.
Will come after the Sword controller, which I showed here, and this one. Even though it might have cap sense, it's still gonna have the grip button, which is analog, just like you asked for. Now, I don't know about the Sword Sense, so we're gonna have to double check that because that's still, maybe I'm just not aware of this latest update. So please hold on with that. I'm gonna answer that in the forums later on.
We'll probably talk. I'm certain that we'll talk about that some more. We have meetings every other day with Robin, so where we go through a lot of these kinds of things. So we'll talk to him about it some more and what we can on the. So the problem is we have a lot of things, but whether or not we're actually, where a particular feature will really wind up in a in a product. It's the difference between us seeing it and it actually being something that we're going to really do.
Of course.
Martin and I see a lot of things.
Yeah.
But, whether or not those things are on the way to reality,
Yeah. Now, I have a couple of more questions here I want to answer. King of Tanks, will you guys get the Pimax headsets to work with the HTC Vive face tracker? Let me check that with the
other controllers that are out there. So our goal is to be price competitive with other things, and we want to come in cheaper than they are.
Right. Kevin, I think I lost you there for a second, so I think we got to out of sync for a second, but I think we are back in.
You hear what I said about the price?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope we didn't lose much of it. I don't know if it's my connection or yours.
Just to repeat, the price of the Sword controllers and Sword Sense, our goal is to come in less than other controllers that are out there.
Yeah. So the question was,
and give us pricing control over our bundle.
Right. Now there was a question about if Pimax headsets will support the HTC Vive face tracker, and I do believe it will. I mean, there are many other headsets who already does that. That's also something I'm going to bounce back on the PiTool team to answer. And I don't think it's a big procedure to make that compatible with Pimax headsets. If I haven't tested it myself, I don't have that face tracker, so I haven't tested it. But let me.
I imagine that it will.
Yeah, I do so as well. Now, next question. Elias Dinter asks, if there's an open API for the eye tracker. If there is, where can I find it? Well, currently there is a Unity API,
Yes.
which we are working with inside of Pimax View Experience to make everything work with the UI. And we will release that as well. I don't have a day for the release yet, but it will be released as a Unity package, basically. So you can.
Yeah, we want to have some support in Pimax Experience eventually for the eye tracker, and we want to. The goal is to have any hardware accessory that we offer to have some kind of something in Pimax Experience that takes advantage of it.
Right.
So. Yeah. So when you see it appear in that, that'll be about the time when the SDK for the eye tracking is probably publicly available. I would guess.
Yeah. Next question. Rodriguez asks 90 hertz for the RTX 2000. Yes, that will happen. I'm quite sure about that.
Works for some people now.
Yeah. Especially since it already works now. We're working very closely with NVIDIA. We have a good contact with them, and we're constantly balling the drivers. They're changing, they're updating, they're fixing stuff. I mean, just a couple of weeks ago we had flashes on the RTX 3000 graphic cards and the 8KX.
The same problem that 2080 has on the 3000.
Yes, so and now 3000 is solved.
That up nice.
Yeah, and especially the RTX 2000 series might support that very soon. No promises, but I do believe that. I'm not sure though about the earlier GDX 1000 series. I'm not so sure that's going to be possible because it's a lot up to NVIDIA how they use the digital signal compression and HBR 1.3 or whatever it is. There's a lot of technology behind that to get that working because we're maxing out the bandwidth of doing a 90 hertz in 4K native mode. There's another question here. Why can't you change the color of the 8KX front chevron? Well, I remember the people at Pimax told me that already back at CES in Vegas more than a year ago. And they had
silver chevrons at the time.
Yes.
They were lit.
Yeah, they wanted to keep it stylish.
Yeah.
You can, of course, get the green thing to light up a little bit, and it looks even better. I mean, it's both like chrome and a little bit green at the back of it. So it looks nice, but we didn't want to make like an RGB crazy circus. How do you call it? Like a theme park out of this. It's more like we see this as a premium product. I would say it's a flagship. I think it's a personal decision from the Pimax team. Maybe even Robin, the founder of Pimax.
Yeah.
So he wanted to keep it clean. Basically, that's it. I mean,
I imagine that eventually, I would speculate that eventually we probably won't have lit chevrons at some point. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe we do a Cylon version someday.
Yeah.
With light moving.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I suspect that there will be a point where we just don't have it.
Yeah.
So.
True. I'm looking for more questions here. Why doesn't 90 Hz work with the latest NVIDIA drivers? What broke? We're currently investigating this, NVIDIA is actually investigating this because it wasn't intentional. They added... Go on, Kevin.
I was just going to say, they thought it would work. So,
yeah, because it did for the past 8 versions or something. Yeah. So this might be fixed in the next version or the version after. So don't worry, it's going to be fixed.
We're guessing. We think that it'll actually be the fix will be in the NVIDIA driver side. Yeah. So it'll be where you update to the latest NVIDIA driver and it just starts working. So,
right.
Most likely.
Yeah. Josh is saying that it appears that the 8KX KD Mass and 8KX Deluxe headphone bundles are sold out on the website. Yeah, we've had some pressure on the 8KX recently. I mean, ever since the 90 Hertz update, we have. I mean, people are really getting their eyes up for the 8KX now, but they will come in stock any day now, as far as I know. So yeah, and also the 8KX is available on the Amazon as well. I'm not sure if it's available with KD Mass. Maybe you know that, Kevin. I don't know.
Should be.
It should be, yeah. So
Yeah.
if something is out of stock, it will quickly go back in stock because our factories are just rolling day and
Now,
night right now. So
yeah,
it's
we're doing real well with that.
yeah, it's not like
Another
in the past.
question. Someone says, "Where's the 8KX OLED version in the future?"
The future will come. It's coming. We know a lot of details come, but
You can assume that we're, that we're always working on new things
yeah,
and
amazing things. But
yeah,
you
but
can just
like
be sure that
any electronics company would be, you can assume that we are too. But um, you can assume that we do have, headsets coming out in the future, and that they'll have bigger, better, faster things than we have today.
absolutely. Pimax keeps improving things.
Yeah.
Pimax keeps innovating. That's the whole goal, especially since we have Robin as the founder, and we have Nordic, and we have Melvin, and so many people who are really enthusiasts of VR. And just like you, Kevin, and me, we always aim to be 1 or 2 steps ahead. I mean, the field of view was one thing, but there were going to be more
By the
things.
way, if you get in with the testing, I'll just throw this back out there again. If you become a tester on some of these things, like the DMAS and the sword controllers, and or even help us with the Pimax experience with the volunteer for that, help contribute to that.
Yeah.
You'll probably get to see some pretty exciting glimpse into the future, on some of these things. So
Yeah.
some things that'll blow you away.
Definitely, for sure.
What else we got?
Skid Row, hi by the way, nice to see you. Why is there another microphone on the 8KX compared to the other Pimax headsets? I'm not sure if it is, although we know that it's a different PCB on the 8KX, just like on the 8K Plus and the 5K Super. These use a newer PCB, improved ones. And if the microphone is switched out, it's probably for the better. Now, there
is a variance in the BOM. One thing, when you're manufacturing electronics, you're going to have some variance in the BOM and the bill of materials moving forward through production. So when you buy a product, when you buy a new Sony TV, for instance, they're probably 5% of the parts between 1 month and 6 months later are different.
Yeah.
So you do have some variance there, and we're no different when it comes to that.
Yeah. Hey, Jeno, or Jens Snetram, a good friend of mine, he just said that the 3070 bundle is indeed sold out already. Wow, that was fast. He has also a question. Could we hope for a Pimax standalone headset? Our mouths are shut.
Yeah. Imagine there's an execution waiting for us. We started talking about.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah.
Let's put it this way. You can imagine that we are working on future things, and that and these things may or may not wind up existing.
Sure.
You got to understand that we have a lot of ideas on things that could, and we work on a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not it gets to a point where we think it's commercial, where it's something that a customer could benefit from, that's a whole. And also, there's the evaluation on the cost,
right,
and how competitive we think it is, and how there's a lot of thought process that goes into it beyond just being able to do it.
Sure.
So sometimes we produce samples of things that never exist, and it happens all the time.
Yeah, right.
And there's things that Martin and I were excited about that that just wound up never existing. But there's a lot of things that we're working on, and some of the things will wind up getting commercialized, and some things won't.
Yeah, and, definitely.
So that's us not talking about something doesn't mean that it won't exist or that it will exist. It just means that something that might be commercialized and might not.
Yeah. Josh Harlan is asking, can hand tracking work simultaneously with eye tracking? It does, although with 8KX, we're working on a workaround for that, as far as I know, because the 8KX do not have the upper USB-C connector because of the new PCB design and the limitations of the bandwidth and such. So we had to do some changes in terms of that. But there will be workarounds for this. Although as far as I know, there are no real applications which are using eye tracking and hand tracking at the same time. As far as I know, maybe Pimax Experience will be the first one to use both of them.
To do it.
Yeah. So,
hey, here's a guy who says the fan module will blow you away. I like it.
Yeah. Now, there's another question which is quite easy to answer. Confusion asks, what's the difference between the 8K Plus and the 8KX? We've mentioned it many times. You can also check our website, compare the specifications. Well, shortly, it's using, both headsets are using the same panels, which are 4K, but the 8KX is rendering the native 4K resolution. So there's a native 4K signal going all the way from your graphic card to the headset, which gives more sharp, more defined image. While the 8K Plus does use the same panels and you're going to get the same screen door effect, but it's only a 1440p resolution, which is then upscaled before it's sent.
2560 by 1440 per eye.
Yeah.
Versus
Exactly.
3840 by 2160 per eye. So that's the resolution, but it scales it to where they end up being the same resolution, but the input resolution is what's different.
Right.
So in practice, so what does that mean in practice? If you're in a driving game and there's a car in front of you and you're looking at that car and it's a great distance away, it's a long way away and you see it way off in the distance, the detail that car will have will be different between an 8KX and an 8K Plus.
Yeah.
And on things like the dials and in a flight sim, the clarity of that.
That's a massive difference. It is.
There would be a big difference there.
Yeah.
Get real sharp clarity on things like dials and indicators.
Well, here's the thing. I wouldn't say that everyone needs that, but a lot of people do. Then there are people who might prefer to just have the awesome an image without the screen door effect, and that's you get the same thing with the 8K Plus.
Yeah, the cool thing about the 8K Plus, you get everything that the 8KX has, except for that one. You get the great housings, you get all the other stuff. You just don't get the native resolution per eye.
Right.
So it has all the other features are the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Does the Pimax 8KX have Bluetooth receiver in it? Well, it does for the tracking part, yes, but you cannot connect any other accessories as far as I know with Bluetooth.
It's not a classic Bluetooth device.
No, it's specific,
it's just used internally.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Another person is asking about the 90 Hz 2080 Ti. Might come. It might come very soon as well. We'll see.
Yeah, you can try it. You can actually try it right now.
Indeed, if you have.
You can install the firmware and give it a shot.
Yeah.
Some people have it say it does work.
Yeah.
And some people say it doesn't work at all. And some people say it does work, but with a flicker.
Yeah.
It may work for you, but it probably won't.
Your friend Shori, I think it is, he's called, is asking, how do I become a tester? Now, first of all, we are prioritizing backers and early customers which already purchased the DMAS or the Pimax Sword controllers. And we will announce that. I think, Kevin, you might announce that in the forums in the upcoming days.
I saw someone here in the thread, so they went ahead and created some threads.
That's great.
For both
That's great.
The DMAS and the others. We'll use the threads that the guy here made. Thank you, by the way, very much for doing that.
Great. So jump into the Pimax OpenMR forums. It's called OpenMR.
But there's going to be some criteria attached to it for your knowledge and your ability to give us good reports, and also we're going to prioritize people that already have an order in. So we don't want anybody to think we're trying to.
Yeah.
But you should know that our goal with these testing programs is to get you guys the best hardware we can, and we're getting more testers to get more opinions on what we've achieved. And if the opinions are that, hey, you've made a miracle, we'll go ahead and ship them, and we can do it very quickly.
Right.
But if we need to make a design change, if someone comes back and says, hey, something wrong, something I don't like, then you're going to see it pushed back.
Yeah. Metalman is asking, Metalman Extreme, he's asking, is the fiber optic cable of the 8KX capable of being used with the 5K Super? Yes, that's correct. It works
Yes, it
with the
is.
Super as well.
A new electrical platform, which
Yes.
all
Does
the
that,
headsets go to, is the 8KX platform.
and that does apply to the 8K Plus as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of them.
Yeah.
It's, the thing is, if you have an 8K, so if you have an 8K Plus that's an older one, there are some that won't work with the optical cable, I think.
Yeah, I have one. I remember I have a sample from CS, I think, which didn't work with that. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the team
A
can
lot of
check
them,
it up for you. I mean, if you just contact our support and give them the
you
serial
can
number,
tell
they can double check that.
if you have both USB ports up and down, it won't work.
Yeah, right.
So if you have one USB port on the bottom on your headset, then it will work with the optical cable.
Yeah,
If you have both USB ports, it will not work with the optical cable.
yeah,
That's the way I.
sure. Yeah, exactly.
The
That's a good
electrical
example.
platform for the AKX only has one USB port on the bottom
Yeah.
for now.
All
Yeah.
right. So let's see if we have any more question. Can you VR Talk? Hi, by the way, nice to see you. Can you brick the 8KX with a bad firmware flash? No, actually.
I
Well,
don't think I've ever seen a bricked headset from a firmware update.
yeah, although we had issues in the past where the firmware could just fail, and then you had to contact the support, and they just made a team viewer session with you, and
Worst
then
case
they fixed it.
scenario, support takes care of it, but you won't have to send the headset back or anything
No.
like that.
Yeah, but I have to add something here that the latest version of PiTool, the 270, includes a new version of the DFU, the firmware update tool, which actually fixes that. So if your firmware update fails, I actually been through that once because I was running like Adobe Premiere and some other stuff in the background. My computer was just overloaded. So I tried to update the firmware of my 5K Super, I think it was, and it failed. And then it says retry again, and then I clicked on retry again, and then it succeeded, and it was all fine. So it doesn't
Actually,
like abort anything if it fails.
it has all new USB libraries too.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the new 270 PiTool includes all new firmware flashing capability.
Yeah.
So I actually used that to fix a customer with a problem yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's much better, and I highly recommend the 270.
Yeah. Nemesis Wolf is asking, are you going to release a longer cable for the 8KX? As it's shorter than the other models. Well, it's not. Well, we have a 6-meter model already,
We
the
do have a
optical
longer
one.
cable, the optical, but we probably release longer ones in the future. But it's the 6 meters, the longest one for right now.
It is, and I think there is headroom for a longer cable as well, but that's not prioritized right now because we all have so much.
On our forums, there are several threads or people who've had success extending cables with repeaters and doing some things with the optical cable.
Absolutely.
And you can take it further.
There are actually some DisplayPort extenders. I can follow up with that in the forums. I've tried the DisplayPort extenders. They're actually quite cheap on Amazon, like $30. It's both extenders and switches even, and they could pass along the signal and extend the cable at least with 2 meters. I've tested that, and that was when using the optical cable. So that makes the cable 8 meters long in total. Now, it does require that kind of DisplayPort extender or whatever it's called, switch, which supports the 8K at 60 hertz and stuff. I mean, it's 8K, that's the highest level of DisplayPort available, including HBR3 and DSC 1.3 or something like that. Yeah, I can follow up with that. It is possible to extend that, but not with any kind of extendable cable.
I see a question to cause smart smoothing to work. Do you need 30 FPS? So the answer to that, the answer to that is it's based on what you have the overall refresh rate set for.
Yeah.
So if you set the refresh rate at 60, you need 31.
Yeah.
Sustained for smart smoothing to work.
Yeah.
If you set the refresh rate for 75, you need like 38. If you set it for 90, you need 45 sustained. Yeah. So if you want to reduce the baseline minimum refresh rate for for smart smoothing to kick in, you need to reduce the refresh rate for the headset in PiTool. So if you want to get smart smoothing's kick in threshold to be as low as you can make it,
Yeah.
then like if you have an older video card or something,
Sure.
you know, but it would need to be an RTX 20 series at least. So you would move it down to 60 hertz on an 8KX, and then you'd have a 31 hertz kick in for smart smoothing.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah, Varmin TV is asking grip size of the new controllers, pinky placement. That's actually a good question. I showed that on the B-rolls further. I mean, further back. You can always rewind and check the video. Yeah. This stream is going to be available on the Pimax YouTube channel. Yeah, actually, it's still up on the thicker part here. You can of course have it lower down, but there's room enough. So there's really it's small. It's way smaller than the Valve Index controller, but still it's roomy. I mean, it's spacey. There's no way, unless you have like monster big hands, I don't think there's going to be any problem having your pinky and any other finger misaligned in any way. So I really do believe it's a great controller, and it's going to get better once it's finished as well. Okay.
So, I asked about RTX cards are scarce. Why don't we support AMD cards more? I'll tell you, AMD new cards are scarce too. You know, they're all scarce. You know, it's just all the new cards are scarce. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But that said, we do support it. And oh, by the way, a lot of people are reporting that our 90 hertz update does work on the 6800 and the 6900 Radeons. So
sure.
You can try it and let us know if it worked for you.
Yeah. Sphinx Coma is asking, what's the status quo of the IPD guy with the experience? If you check back on the stream later, you can see that we're talking about that. It's aimed for April. It might be even early in April. We're going to release the first version.
Talk about it on the live when we do the stream. We're going to have, we mentioned this before, but we're going to have a live stream next week with the three of us.
Yeah.
It'll be me, Martin, and Armin, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit.
Sure, yeah. During the live stream, you can do a lot. King of Tanks is asking, is the Pimax 5K Plus discontinued? Do you have any information about that, Kevin? Because I don't.
Well, just know that the 5K Super is the replacement for the 5K Plus.
Yeah.
We actually still have recently run some 5K Pluses. But no, that it's that the 5K Plus is on the path to to being it's our oldest headset that we still produce.
Yeah.
So if you do get one, know that it'll be there are successors already for sale.
Yeah, I would say though, go for the 5K Super in any way, because it's such a better headset in terms of the housing, the quality. I mean, the refresh rate, of course, which is the main feature of it, but everything. I mean, you get the DMAS strap, not DMAS, sorry, SMAS, the standard modular strap. Optionally, you
can upgrade it to the KDMAS if you want.
Right, and it's just a way better headset.
In every way.
Yeah. So sooner or later, the 5K Plus might be discontinued, of course. I mean, that's the natural way of developing evolution, I guess.
Just assume that the 5K Plus is, on the latter part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
B Phoenix, why my 8KX has a huge difference in sharpness in 1.4? I guess he means PiTool render quality at 1.4. Well, here's the thing, that the higher render resolution you put before you send it to the headset, the better it gets. That's basically what's called super sampling. That's why you could get back in the days, I'm talking about 3 years ago.
It's even application dependent as well, some of it. It depends. Some applications apply their own sampling, and they have in the Steam pipeline.
Yeah, and also, as you might remember that during the HTC Vive era, 3 years ago or so, even back then it was rendering at 1.4 times the resolution of the headset panels, just because it just looks better. It's the more you increase the resolution to a certain point, right? The more you increase it, the more sharpness and more details you're going to get out of it.
And it's subjective too. Some people can't see the extra sharpness.
Yeah.
Some people can't.
Yeah, many times I would say keep it at 1.0 and adjust that setting if possible inside of the game or inside of even Steam. It's less heavy for your GPU, but still going to give you ultra sharpness.
For instance, in the flight sim guide that we produced, we actually give you the exact resolution to set the super sampling to manually for the most sharpness.
Yeah.
So that you actually achieve the maximum sharpness. And if you want the absolute maximum sharpness, I suggest you check out that guide and use the numbers that are in there.
Sure. So, Kevin, I think we're going to round this up now because it seems like, we're running 2 hours any second here.
We're past what we're hoping for. But I think we got a lot of good information out there.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And so people stay tuned for our, we're going to be doing this live stream next week with Armin, and it'll be a Pimax experience oriented thing. Yeah. And don't forget, if you're interested in helping out with the Pimax experience, let us know. Yeah. We will we'll get you in on the team and working together with the guys. And of course, we're going to have another one of these. We're going to do this more often. We've got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of things we didn't talk about today that we thought about talking about today.
Indeed, yeah.
It's
always like that.
It's been like that every time.
Yeah, it's impossible to.
Yeah, there's a lot of things on the board, and we kind of whittle it down to things that, it's an interesting process for sure.
Indeed.
But but we'd probably do this inside within the next month or so. I'll do it again, another Pimax Live. When you see a Pimax now, know that that's talking about shipping something important, something majorly important, and a Pimax Day would be kind of an overarching, very important, probably our most important events.
So, right. Yeah.
But that said, I want to thank you, Martin, for sitting with me again and doing this.
Thank you, Kevin.
And everybody that did it has stuck with us for the 2 hours that it's been. Surprising, time flies. Thank you so much, and thank you guys for sticking with us. We think we've all been through a lot together.
Indeed.
Pimax, and to start where we started and end up where we are today.
Yeah.
Man, we've come so far.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue to do that.
Of course.
And we've got so many things planned, and we're going to talk about more of them in the next show. But for now, let's cut this one off, and we'll make plans for next week and talk about the Pimax experience.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And see you in the next show, and see you maybe on the SweViver YouTube channel sooner or later. I'm a father now, okay? I'm a little bit busy, okay?
Yeah.
Thanks, Kevin.
Everybody, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.